to make a deeper introduction to Carlos, because if you start out following Carlos, you see that he's always in barbershops all over the world. He has a passion for it, and he wants to show it to the world, and yeah, let's see it.
I don't want you to give away too much of your talk, but what do you see as the future of social media?
Well, I see the future of social media involving bots and not a lot of brands.
Interesting, okay. So you think they're going to be using a lot of bots for chat, or for, what do you think?
I think from a content marketing standpoint, you're going to start seeing a lot of brands. We're already seeing this shift from what we know as influencer marketing. But you're going to see a lot of brands having to rely on others to tell the narrative for them. So that's a combination of influencers as we know them, or people that have large followings, i.e. storytellers, and also customers as advocates and employees as advocates. Well, I'll tell you what, Kobe, I'm excited to be here in Copenhagen. It's my first time visiting Denmark. And I'm just honored to be out here at the Komfo Summit. I'm looking forward to meeting all the fine folks here in attendance. Looking forward to meeting some fellow marketers and really building some new relationships.
All right, we just got a nice cut.
That we did.
And a shave. I feel really good right now. This was fantastic.
This is amazing.
You gotta look fresh, right? You have to. So now you're ready for the Komfo Summit. I have one last question for you. In terms of what you see companies doing on social media, the biggest mistake you see them doing on social media today, what is that?
I'd say that companies aren't doing a good enough job of storytelling. What they're doing is they're marketing, and people don't want to be marketed to. People don't want to be sold to. They really want to be engaged.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about at the Komfo Summit, is how to engage your audience through storytelling.
Great. I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for this time. Thanks for your time. Take care. See you on stage.
See you there.
See you there.
How are you doing, Copenhagen? Excellent? All right, so they asked me to come up here on stage and bring the energy, but I need your help. So I want you guys to get really loud, get amped up, clap it up one time, guys. Let's get it. Can someone help me pronounce what this says, by the way? Hi. So good to be here with all of you. My name is Carlos Gil. It is a pleasure and an honor. Before I get started, I just want to thank Komfo and Elizabeth and the entire team for bringing me out here from the United States and joining you from the sunshine state known as California. So I was hoping to bring some sunshine to you guys here, but it looks like that plan didn't work out. We've been having some hurricanes and such throughout the United States. So sorry about that, but it is once again great to be here with all of you. Now, for those of you that are on Snapchat, raise your hand real quick. I want to know how many of you, wow, look around, keep those hands up, and take a look. Because when I used to do these talks back in 2016 and 2015, maybe only like half or a quarter of the hands in the room would go up. It looks like now almost about 85 to 90% of the people here in this room are on Snapchat, which is good, because in today's session, you're going to learn a lot about Snapchat and storytelling and how you can grow and absolutely crush it on the platform. But before I get started, I want to invite you guys to add me if you haven't already. My username on Snapchat is @BCarlosGil. You You can also add me by scanning my Snap code, which is here. I also want to invite you to go ahead and tweet out this session. Make sure you use the conference hashtag, which is hashtag Komfo Summit. You can also connect with me at Carlos Gil 83 on Twitter as well as on Instagram. So, we are here today to go ahead and learn all about social media, the future social media, chatbots, digital transformation, all this cool stuff. And I just want to share with you guys really quick, throughout the last 10 years of my career, I have been invested in the world and the business of social media. A little bit about me that a lot of folks don't know is I actually started my career as a banker back in the early 2000s. And in the United States, when the recession hit right around 2008, I was laid off. I was out of a job. And that actually forced me to start using social media to do what a lot of us today do naturally, which is network, build relationships, build a personal brand. It actually led me into a career in social media. So I've had the privilege and honor of working for some top brands in the United States, Winn-Dixie, LinkedIn, Save-A-Lot, BMC Software. And here's what I can tell you about what I have learned over the last 10 years. Social media evolution is inevitable. And let me tell you what I mean by this. These platforms that we've all come to love and in some cases hate, these platforms come and these platforms go. The people that use these platforms, guess what happens to them? They come and they go. They grow up. And I'm going to share some inspiration as well as what I like to refer to as real talk with you guys. Who here in this room remembers AOL? In the States, it's called America Online. Okay, a lot of you guys. I grew up in the 90s. I am an older millennial. I grew up using AOL. And guess what happened when my generation of millennial started to grow up? We made this shift from AOL over to MySpace. You guys remember MySpace? A lot of heads nodding. And then guess what happened from there? MySpace changed. The people on MySpace changed. And then we jumped over to Facebook and Twitter. Today, we're right here. It's Snapchat and it's Instagram. And I like to use this image because, once again, while these social networks are very similar to one another, and I'm going to show you today how to create content and how to really dominate these platforms, there's a lot of similarities in them, but the way that people use them is different. So I really want to spotlight this for a moment, because I often hear that Snapchat and Instagram are one and the same. Instagram has copycatted Snapchat's features. But let's face it, how you see a millennial today using Snapchat is very much from a messaging standpoint. It's very raw, it's very organic. And then how you see them using Instagram is the life that they want you to see. It's very polished, it's very refined. So, social media audiences are fragmented. And what I mean by this is we know as marketers and as business operators in this room, there's not one predominantly used social network. Here's where I'm going with this. In an average minute, you have more people logging in to Facebook, Snapchat, Tinder, Instagram, going on the web, you name it, Netflix. It's hard to keep up. Would we all agree as just consumers, not marketers for a second, but would we all agree in this room that it's hard to keep up with this shift digitally and all the options are out there? Yes? Further point, when you look at the domineering social network out there, it's Facebook. And I enjoy coming to European countries like this because it forces me to go outside of my box in the States and use platforms like WhatsApp. I spend a lot of time also in South America, where WhatsApp is used more than Messenger, it's used more than even Snapchat for messaging. So Facebook has a very, very strong hold on the social networking landscape. However, is Facebook really where consumers are spending their time to engage with brands? I want to ask you guys this question. I want to do a poll here on the spot. First of all, who in this room is on Facebook? Almost every single person. Is there anyone in this room that's not on Facebook? No, okay. So, this poll works out really good then. I want to know by a show of hands, how many of you this morning, when you woke up, the first thing that you did was you instinctively grabbed your cell phone and you went on Facebook to see what your favorite brand posted? Raise your hand. One person out of 500. Actually, I want to ask you, since you're one person, this makes it really easy. What brand was it? Facebook News, okay. So it wasn't Nike, it wasn't Reebok, it wasn't an airline. News about Facebook. My point exactly. We are marketers, and we're business operators and executives in this room that are expecting consumers that we market to consume our content and check out what we're posting on Facebook, but yet we ourselves don't eat our own dog food. Think about that for a moment. And I put this in perspective because we invest a lot of time and money and resources in a social network which 500 of us aren't instinctively going to consume content from brands. Let's face it, the majority of us are using social media for what social media is intended to do, which is engage with our homies. The key word in social media is social. I think that's something that's been really lost upon a lot of us. No offense to anyone in this room. And that's because, what do we see social media as? We see it as a quick way to get marketing and advertising content in front of consumers. And the reality is, this is your audience on Facebook. Less than 1% organic engagement is what you get on Facebook today. That's the reality. It's a pay-to-play social network. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about over the next 45 minutes or so with all of you is going to be how to take this mantra of social media and really flip it upside down and really start thinking about using social media for storytelling. What I like to refer to as product storytelling. Now, we're going to talk about bots here a little bit in this session. Today, you're going to learn quite a bit about bots. In fact, I was talking with someone who actually developed a bot for Komfo. And I want to share this example with you guys. Prior to coming to this trip, I went onto Facebook Messenger. And on Facebook Messenger, I had an option of engaging with several different companies. Big name brands. American Airlines, Delta, you name it. One of the brands I came across was Marriott. And the example that you see here behind me is me actually, in real life, trying to reserve a room here in Copenhagen with Marriott. And you see this experience here. Immediately, I'm prompted to go ahead and engage with this bot. I'm saying to Marriott, supposedly, that I want to go ahead and reserve a hotel room. They don't know where I'm at. I'm getting a little frustrated here because I'm saying I want to find a hotel. It's asking me what city, which is great. You see here I put Copenhagen. Immediately I'm prompted, got it. What are you going for? I go ahead and put business. Once again, bots are supposedly trying to replace people. So I really want to share with you guys this example here because as a regular consumer, I'm going through this conversation. So I say Copenhagen again. Great. Now get it. Guess what? The bot says that they got it. So I put demo. Now I'm really upset. Okay? And guess what? Sorry, there's no hotels available. Guess what, guys? I could have easily gone onto Marriott.com, booked my hotel room, been in and out. I could have called someone. I could have probably gone on Twitter DM, hopefully they didn't have bots on there. So can anyone guess what happened after this happened? Now 3 days ago? No one? Well, I get this message actually yesterday. I'm already in Copenhagen. This is 2 days after the fact. And someone on the customer care team at Marriott sends me this message saying, hey, by the way, we have 2 rooms in Copenhagen. And guess what? I decided to go to Airbnb because of convenience. So this is a real life example. Now, I'm a firm believer that bots are going to disrupt everything that we possibly know and do today in social media. And unfortunately, we as marketers and business leaders are going to be used by our companies to program these bots, which eventually are going to put a lot of us out of work. But more to come on that. Social media, my friends, is about community at the end of the day. It's not about selling things. It's not about product pitches. It's about community. This is one thing that a bot cannot do. You cannot automate a community, okay? Since the beginning of time, the way business has been done is based on relationship building. And how do you build relationships with people? One by one by one. You can't automate that. But I'm going to tell you something that's new. Because once again, building community and relationship building is not new. But what is new is storytelling, being the new form of content marketing. Think about yourselves, all of you as consumers in this room. I guarantee you, I would be willing to bet my career on it, that almost all of you consume content from an individual more so than you do a brand. However, you don't realize that subconsciously these individuals are putting products in front of you or services. I'll just share an example with you. Cubby and I went yesterday to get a haircut at a local barber shop. I had like 3 people on Instagram stories that reached out to me and said, hey, I'm at the barber shop right now because you motivated me to get a cut. Now, guys, I don't want to be known as a barbershop influencer by any means. But, once again, that's how this whole thing works. Storytelling is the new content marketing. Creators are the new celebrity. I look at my own kids for inspiration. I've got 2 kids that are the ages of 12 and 9 years old. My kids will not turn on a TV. Instead, they watch YouTube. They watch people like Casey Neistat. Okay, Casey Neistat, for those of you that aren't familiar, is a filmmaker. He's also one of the most watched people on YouTube. He puts a video today, and by the end of today, within a 24-hour period, he gets over 1 million views, minimum, per video. More views than what a Nike or an American Airlines or any top Fortune 100 brand in the world gets. A person gets it. Gary Vee, who knows who this is? A lot of you, right? More people out there rather ask Gary Vee a question over Twitter than go to Wikipedia or read a book. Why is that? Because Gary is a real person. He's an individual that you can interact with, you can have a conversation with. It's not just a bot. You're not going to hit hashtag AskGaryVee and all of a sudden have a Gary Vee bot tweet you back, at least I hope not. So, real person. Again, relationship building is the name of the game here. Now, as we move on, I'm going to address these 3 challenges that brands have. There's going to be, take notes guys, because there's going to be a lot of good insights here for you guys. The first challenge that brands in the year 2017, almost 2018 are facing is this. The question that I get asked almost every single day, multiple times throughout the day, from fellow marketers is, Carlos, should I be on Snapchat or should we be over here on Instagram? And my answer is, be on both. Your objective is not to now pit one versus the other. Your objective is to reach customers. Your objective is to build relationships. Your objective is to build community, and then that community drives business back to your brand. So if you have reach on these social networks, you should be on both. Don't dispute, don't listen to some thought leader saying, hey, Snapchat's crap, because they don't get Snapchat, and they don't have a presence on Snapchat, saying you're not on Snapchat. I hear this all the time from marketers. They say, oh, well, you know, I'm not on Snapchat, so no one's on Snapchat. No, you're wrong. There's a lot of millennials and Generation Z there on Snapchat. This is an audience that you're trying to reach, and you should absolutely be there. Then I hear this other argument, well, you know, we're already on Instagram, so we're going to just continue to have a presence and build on Instagram. Well, great, good job. Have a presence on Instagram, but guess what you're doing? You're also alienating, ignoring a big, big population that's over here that's probably not consuming your content on Instagram. You guys see how that works? So, once again, my recommendation is make your social media strategy centered about community and the people you're trying to reach, not about these platforms. At the end of the day, these platforms will come and they will go. I guarantee you that. You've seen AOL, you've seen MySpace, you've seen Vine, I can go on and on. These platforms are hot today, they will eventually be gone. In the meantime, you need to really use them as distribution mediums to go ahead and reach people that you can build relationships. Not sell things to, but build relationships, one person at a time. So let's talk about Snapchat for a moment. Because I think that as marketers and social media professionals, a lot of us understand the value of Instagram. It's owned by Facebook. You have all these different capabilities on there. Live streaming, it's easy to add followers. It's a really easy social network, quite frankly. However, Snapchat continues to be an issue for a lot of marketers because they just don't get it. So I really want to help you guys understand this social network. I've been on Snapchat now since 2013. I joined Snapchat back when I was running social media for Winn-Dixie, which is a grocery chain based out of Northeast Florida that operates in 8 states. And it was November 2000 and, it was actually, November 2013, it was Thanksgiving. And I posted a photo on Facebook at the time, and my then 13 or 14-year-old sister-in-law looks at me and says, Carlos, why are you posting a photo on Facebook? And I looked at her and said, well, where do you, 13-year-old you, post content? She said on Snapchat. I said, well, why don't you post content on Facebook? Are kids not on Facebook anymore? She said, Facebook is for old people. that was the moment in time that probably changed my entire career. Besides getting laid off in 2008 from AIG, that moment in time changed my entire career. Because at that moment, I became invested in learning this social network. So I said to myself, 5 years from now, this 13-year-old will be 18. And if I'm investing so much time, money, and resources and effort on marketing on Facebook, this person's never going to consume my content on Facebook once they grow up and they're an adult. My own kids, once they grow up and they're adults, are never going to consume content on Facebook or on Twitter because, let's face it, like I said before, social media evolution is inevitable, and people continue to grow up. As people grow up, the platforms change along with them. So Snapchat, I've invested now several years in this platform as a content creator, as a consumer, as a marketer. I'm going to just jump right into why this is a platform that you should be investing in. First of all, Snapchat offers functionality that I've yet seen on any other social networks, with maybe the exception of Instagram stories, and that's the fact that your content disappears. There is actually a timestamp on content that forces you to go see what your friends or the brands that you follow are posting. And I often hear this objection from fellow marketers. They say to me, well, Carlos, why do I want to post content on a social network if it's going to disappear? We want our content to live on forever. And I will then throw it back and say, can you really tell me when was the last time that you went to a Facebook page or Twitter account for a brand that you actually buy things from to see what they posted a week ago, or a month ago, or a year ago? Chances are you can't remember. Why is that? Because social media operates in real time. If you really think about it, Snapchat is very similar to YouTube meets Twitter. It's the easiest way to sell Snapchat to an executive. It's Twitter meets YouTube. Content's short. It's as short as 1 second or as long as 10. It's mainly created and consumed in the form of video, which is like your YouTube comparison. And very similar to Twitter, besides content being short, it's real time. You have to log back in, you get to see what people are posting. If it's right there in your feed, boom, you're going to see it. If not, it's gone. That's number one. Two is, from a usability standpoint, you have access to over 160 million daily active users. These users that are active on this platform are logging in on average 18 times per day. Okay, and why are they logging in on average 18 times per day? Because, once again, there's this fear of missing out, also known as FOMO, that if you don't see what your friends or the brands that you follow are posting right now, or at least within the next 24 hours, it's gone. So, logging in on average 18 times a day. And then when you look at content consumption, the average Snapchat user is consuming at least 30 minutes worth of content on Snapchat. Now, how long is your average TV program? About 30 minutes. Which leads me to this next point, that Snapchat is essentially replacing the TV as we know it. And for inspiration, I look at the Discover section on Snapchat, where you have content from ESPN and CNN and Fox and all sorts of other traditional media companies now have a presence on Snapchat, taking long-form media content, such as ESPN SportsCenter. Instead of consuming 30 minutes worth of content, you consume 3 on Snap. Next is demographics. So, marketers will often say, Carlos, Snapchat is just for kids. Kids that are about sexting and college students. And it feels really uneasy to be on there. Well, guess what, guys? When Facebook started about 10 or 12 years ago, you needed to have an email address from a college university in order to join Facebook. Facebook was essentially Snapchat at one point. It was a social network for kids. And then what happened? Facebook grew up. My mom and dad are on Facebook now. And Facebook has become a social network for all of us in this room. Again, almost every single person in this room raised their hand. What you guys need to know about Snapchat is that it's growing and maturing as a platform. Yes, the majority of users on the platform are millennials. So what's that say to you as a business? If you are trying to reach someone between the ages of 18 to 34 years old, you absolutely have to be on Snapchat. At the same time, when you really look at the breakdown demographics behind me, you see that over 75% of their audience is above the age of 18. Now, if you're not convinced and you still think, you know what, Snapchat is not for me, it's kind of hokey, I don't really get it, let me share with you this very brief case study here. Does everyone in the room recognize Gatorade? Yes? So Gatorade, this year for the Super Bowl, instead of running a TV commercial that would have cost them about $5 million, instead they spent about $500,000 on a sponsored lens. The way the sponsored lens works, for those of you that aren't aware, here is you see some advertising from Gatorade, you can interact with it, you can raise your eyebrows, open your mouth. Then what happens? This Gatorade bucket dunks over your head. You see the picture there on the screen behind me. Well, here's what happened. In a 24-hour span that this content was live across the accounts of Gatorade users around the world, over 165 million people consumed Gatorade branding. That, my friends, is more than the number of people who saw the Super Bowl itself. So let me break this down for you. More people consume Gatorade content on Snapchat than the number of people who saw probably the world's biggest television event every single year, which is the Super Bowl. And I'd like to use this case study to really put in perspective that Snapchat is a legit marketing channel. But here's what Snapchat is not. Snapchat is not another social network to sell. And here's the reason why. This is your audience. This is who you're speaking to. You're speaking to a much younger audience. And let me tell you something. If you're trying to sell and market to someone who's chatting with their friends with rainbow vomit coming out of their mouth, good luck. You have one chance to make a first impression. One. This is an audience that is subconsciously trained to turn the channel when commercials come on. They're clicking skip on YouTube. They don't want to see brand content. So your challenge is not how can I sell to them, but how can I be relevant? Being relevant, okay, is talking back to them in the language that they're speaking, essentially, with rainbow vomit and puppy dog filters. Very important that you guys put in perspective. And I say this as someone who's a much older millennial, 34 years old, so I'm like right there at the cutoff of millennials. But millennials don't want to be sold to at all. They want to be engaged. Again, look at personalities like Gary Vee, Casey Neistat, and others out there for inspiration. You will see this audience just does not want to consume brand content. Now, the keys to grow and reach this audience, or really any audience. So I'm going to break this down for you guys. What I'm going to share with you here isn't just relevant for Snapchat. It's relevant for Instagram, it's relevant for Twitter, it's relevant for Facebook. Your objective as a brand is obviously to grow a community and grow a following, because eventually you want to pull these people into your website and you want to sell them something. You all get how that works. However, growing is challenge number one that brands face once they get over what platforms I should be on. The first step to growing is leveraging your traditional digital media channels. Let's face it, by now, you probably built a following and a presence on Facebook. You built a following and a presence on Twitter. Leverage that. So if you're looking to go ahead and grow your IG presence, your Snapchat presence, make sure you have call to actions. If you have a really cool, fun story going out today, like Warby Parker, optical brand that has really engaging, fun content, you see the example right here behind me. Go on Twitter. Let your audience know to go over on your Snapchat accounts and put the snap code so they can easily add you. You also see an example here on the screen from Wendy's, leveraging Twitter. I saw Komfo today. They were streaming right now, and they were leveraging, again, Twitter and Facebook to go ahead and get the word out. These are things that you need to do. But outside of digital, outside of social media, most brands have some sort of CRM database. Leverage your CRM database. Leverage your email database. If you're a brand like in the States, I'm a big fan of Best Buy, and I have their loyalty card. Best Buy knows how old I am. They know that I fall within the Snapchat demographic, so to speak. So if you have a way to send that data out based on age, go ahead and send targeted emails out to that audience. Again, if you're trying to reach a younger audience, don't send an email to your entire email database, but send it to your 18 to 34-year-olds and say, hey, go check out our Snapchat account today, or go over onto our Instagram to see the story, or check out the special that we're offering. Leverage traditional channels. I'll share with you guys another example. I recently wrote a paper on the top 25 brands on Snapchat. And I was really shocked to find out when I went to the website of every single one of these brands one by one, only 2 of them on their website had a link along with their click here to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and all that, all those different emojis and images. There's only 2 brands that had a call to action to add them on Snapchat. I was really shocked and also really disappointed. So just like you promote and pimp out your Facebook and your Twitter, you have to do the same thing with Snapchat and with Instagram. Now there's working with influencers. Let's talk about influencers for a moment. How many of you in this room work with influencers or have done some sort of influencer activation before? Several of you. Influencers possess 2 things that are advantageous for brands. One, they have reach. So if you want to grow your social media accounts quickly, look to work with influencers to do this for you. And I have a couple of examples here that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. The second, and probably the most valuable for your brand, is influencers possess a very unique skill set that for most marketers doesn't come naturally. And that's the ability to storytell. That's being able to grab a cell phone and tell a story. You see the example here behind me. Sean Duras is a very well-known influencer, not just on Snapchat, but on YouTube. He doodles, he creates these really cool, funny stories like the ones that you see here. Most marketers naturally and instinctively don't know how to do this. Now, influencers can also be very costly, very difficult to find. So I often encourage brands, if you want to find someone who is already engaged in your space, can speak to your audience, run a Google search for bloggers. Okay, back in 2012, when I started social media for Winn-Dixie, we started a blogger influencer program. And what we would do is we would essentially work with mommy bloggers who we would send gift cards to, and they'd go to our store, they'd buy some products, and then they'd go home, cook, and then write a blog about Winn-Dixie, about the different sales and so forth that we have. Yet those weren't like mega influencers like a Sean Duras or a Gary Vee. They were average everyday people, and there's value in that. And here's why. Most bloggers have a website which helps you with your SEO. So if you're going to do an activation with a blogger / influencer, make sure that they write a blog post that has your snap code somewhere in the blog post, because again, there's SEO value there. And the other thing is most bloggers also have an email database. A lot of social media influencers are great at creating social media content. Oftentimes you'll find they don't have a database with email addresses. So what you want is to be able to work with not just an influencer, but work with bloggers. So if you're a hospitality brand, run a good old-fashioned Google search for hospitality and travel bloggers. So when you do a campaign with them, or when you invite them to do a takeover of your account, prior to that takeover, they're sending an email out to their database saying, hey, today I'm going to take over Marriott's Snapchat account or Instagram's account. And here's what I'm going to be doing. Here's how you can add them. So you see how that works? Influencers, you're going to be able to get reach, you're going to be able to get storytelling skills. Bloggers, you're going to be able to tap directly into their database and their network. The next is geofilters. What I love about Snapchat geofilters is you don't have to have an account on Snapchat to have a presence on Snapchat if you're using geofilters. And here's how this works. If I'm W Hotels, like you see here in the example, and I have properties all over the world, and I run geofilters at those properties, anytime someone is at a W Hotel property and they go on Snapchat, when they're scrolling through and looking at the different filters, they're going to see this advertising. They're going to see this branding. Geofilters essentially cost as little, in the United States at least, they cost as little as $5 for about 20,000 square feet for 4 hours. It's probably the most cost-affordable form of advertising on social media today to reach a geo-local younger audience. Okay, so once again, how these work is someone goes to your place of business, they swipe, and they're able to see this ad. What's really cool about geofilters is you don't have to run them at your place of business exclusively. You can run them anywhere. Guess what? You can run them at a competitor's place of business. In the United States, we have Walmart and we have Target. They're two big box stores. Essentially, Walmart can put Snapchat geofilters at every single Target location. And Target can do the same thing. Or Amazon can run Snapchat geofilters at every single Walmart location, which is fabulous. So the way that you create a geofilter is if you go to snapchat.com and then click on geofilters, you have a couple different options here. A, you can create your own. B, you can have your in-house design team or your agency create your geofilter for you. So again, either create one directly on Snapchat's website or have one created and then uploaded. 2, you select the date range that you want your geofilter to run. So you can have it run for the course of a month, you can have it run for 1 day for a specific period of time. And then you select the location. So in this example here, I'm running a geofilter in San Francisco, California, covering 2 million square feet of space. Let's just pretend I'm an e-commerce brand for a second. On a Saturday for 8 hours, on a peak Saturday, for about 160 US dollars, I can run an ad in San Francisco covering over 2 million square feet. So for all of you sitting in this room that have an e-com business and are selling internationally all over the world and not just here in Denmark, look at running geofilters in cities like New York, Chicago, Miami, San Francisco, LA. Wherever there's a high density of people is where you want to run your geofilters. And that's also concerts. sporting events. Wherever you know people are going to be getting together and congregating is where you want to run your geofilters. Conferences, industry conferences. I often get asked, how do you use Snapchat for B2B? This is how you use it for B2B. Run geofilters in lieu of having a booth or in lieu of advertising in a program in a conference for your industry. Run geofilters instead. The next, if you really want to put your growth strategy on steroids, run good old-fashioned Facebook and Instagram ads. I'll share with you guys a ninja growth hack of mine. Last year, I spent $50 on Facebook and Instagram ads, targeting Snapchat users or people that are interested in Snapchat through Facebook. And I ran the ad creative that you see here behind me. It was very simple. It was my Snap code, it said add me on Snap, and I spent $50 and was able to gain 1,000 new followers on Snapchat. And the way I was able to growth hack and tap into Facebook ads this way is I optimized this ad for engagement. So I would only pay when people would click like, share, comment, etc. Well, what happens instinctively when people see a Snap code to add you on Snapchat? They screenshot your phone, right? They screenshot their phone to then copy your Snap code. Well, Facebook doesn't know how to capture a screenshot yet, so they couldn't charge me for that form of engagement. So I literally had my ad run for the entire month of February to get a $50 budget that got me 1,000 new followers on Snapchat. You can do this as well. I really advocate to putting some paid advertising dollars behind helping to grow your presence, whether it's on Snapchat or Instagram. But the key, my friends, is not just to throw money at the wall to see what sticks, but to run targeted ads. So you know who your target consumer is. Make sure that your ads are highly targeted, and also you're adding some different interest base in there. So if you want to drive people to Snapchat, or if you want to drive them over to Instagram, make sure that you have, in the interest category, make sure that you have Instagram or Snapchat as something that they're truly interested in. Next is location-based advertising. So in the States, we're starting to see a lot of businesses, brick-and-mortar businesses that are on Snapchat, putting their Snap code, like you see here in the example. Or if they have a geofilter at their location, they're putting call to actions. So as you're walking in, you actually know to go ahead and use their geofilter, or that they have a presence on Snapchat. You see stores like Champs, okay, that are putting Snap codes now as decals at the front of the store, where normally you would see find us on Facebook or add us and follow us on Twitter. You're now seeing the Snap code icon. So we talked a little bit about growth. Let's talk about content. Because growing your presence on Snapchat is a challenge, but creating content, I find, is even more difficult. The content that you create, not just on Snapchat, but Instagram as well, needs to fall in one of these three categories, if not all of them. One, be fun. Two, be creative. And three, be educational. Most brands are not fun brands. Let's just face it. Especially if you're in B2B, oftentimes it's not fun. Educational, we can all be educational. We can all teach people how to do things. Every single person in this room sells some sort of product, good or service. I'm fairly confident of that. Teach people how to use the products that you sell. Teach them something that's going to inspire them to take what it is that you do and actually contact you and be interested in those services. Now let's talk about creativity. So Mike Placko is a very well-known Snapchat influencer. And you're going to see an example here of how Walt Disney World, a highly iconic, one of the most iconic brands in the world, launched their Snapchat. They launched their Snapchat account. They worked with Mike, who has a lot of followers on Snapchat. And what did he do? He started this story on his account, from his house, I believe in Ohio, somewhere in the US. And he started the story, he obviously incorporated his creativity and the fun elements, okay, from his account, and told his followers to go add them, or go add Walt Disney's new account. Then, Walt Disney flew Mike and his family to Disney World, and he did a tour of Disney, and he captured all that content on Disney's Snapchat account. So again, example of a notable brand working with an influencer, really leveraging that influencer for their creative storytelling skills, and also for their following. The second thing, friends, is make sure you're creating original content. I had this discussion with a good friend of mine that's in the front row yesterday around originality. I see this sin being made every single day, and that's people creating Snapchat content, saving it, and then uploading it to Instagram. That, my friends, is the digital equivalent of going to your company potluck, bringing food, taking the leftovers, and then going to a party next door at your neighbor's house. It's called digital leftovers, and you just don't do it. Here's what you do, however. Take content And if you want to repurpose it and format it specifically for the networks. Or once again, tell a story. So use Snapchat to take people behind the scenes of whatever it is that you're doing. Take them behind the scenes. Give them the background. Drive people over to where you want to take them next. Maybe you take them over to Instagram because maybe on Instagram there's something cool, there's something of value. Maybe there's a post that you want them to see on Instagram. But don't make the mistake of just saving content from one platform and uploading it on the other. Because here's what happens. When you do that, first of all, you're being unoriginal. And as marketers, we're better than that. Especially for the agency folks in the room, we're better than that. What you want to do is you want to keep this conversation going multi, or what I like to refer to as omni-channel. Different content, which gives people an incentive and a reason to go follow you on these different social networks. Look at brands like Taco Bell. Taco Bell does a phenomenal job on Snapchat creating content. Why? Because they actually use the infrastructure of the platform. They draw, they doodle, they use the different features, the different tools. If Taco Bell were to take this same content and just upload it on their Instagram story, I guarantee you Taco Bell's social media manager would probably be fired and their agency would be let go. Why? Because once again, it's unoriginal. And there's an expectation from your customers and your followers, i.e. your community, there's an expectation that you're going to give them something on that social network that they aren't getting somewhere else. Once again, you have to give people an incentive and a reason to follow you. Does that make sense? Absolutely. The next tip is make sure you keep your stories short. Somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes is the ideal time frame. Even that tends to get kind of long. So whether it's Instagram stories or Snapchat stories, this isn't YouTube. It's short form, micro content storytelling. But the key is to make sure you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So when you have a campaign, when you have a story that you're going to create, actually sit down. Sit down with your marketing team. Sit down with your agency team. Think about what is it that we want to accomplish through this story. I always say start with the end in mind and work backwards. And then actually storyboard out. The first snap is going to sound like this. Have an introduction. So whoever's doing the takeover of your account, make sure as soon as you jump on, you say, hey, what's going on? I'm so-and-so. Today we're going to be doing X. That's one snap. Then you walk people through this natural progression to keep them engaged. And then you have an end. The very most important part is that you save your call to action to the very end. Don't create a story and midway through you're saying, hey, we're Nike, we got this sale today at Nike.com, go there, because now there's no reason for people to keep coming back and checking your store. Wait to the very, very end for a call to action. And I'm going to share with you guys here in just a moment how to actually convert your views on Snap as well as on IG. Next is take users behind the scenes. So again, Snapchat gives you an opportunity to do something very unique, and that's pulling out an iPhone or an Android and creating content on the spot at your business. I like to use Nike as an example because I'm a big Nike fan. If I'm Nike and I'm running Snapchat or Instagram for the brand, and we have LeBron James doing a campaign with us around his new sneakers, instead of having LeBron show the sneakers as a static image on Facebook, actually give LeBron a pair of sneakers, actually show him do the unboxing, tying the shoes, going to a basketball court, and taking some jump shots with him. That's the power that Snapchat gives you. The second, also about going behind the scenes, is spectacles. Who here has a pair of spectacles? These are Snapchat sunglasses. One of you. Okay, so this is really cool. If you go to Amazon, Snapchat sells these spectacles for about $150. And what's neat is you can actually press a button and record content wearing these sunglasses. So think about it. If you're a hospitality brand, once again, have spectacles on site. So you can give them to your customers. They can actually go out, live a day in the life of a Marriott guest, for example. Also showing company culture. If there's one thing that you use storytelling for, and you should look to do really, really well, is give your employees an incentive and a reason to actually care about your brand's social media accounts. I'm sure you've heard of employee advocacy. Typically, employee advocacy, nowadays it's set up where employers provide their employees for a database of content where they can go, they can share content out on Facebook and Twitter. That's great. Mazel tov. However, what you really should do is give your employees an incentive and a reason to want to do a takeover of your brand's Snapchat and Instagram account. Actually go in front of executives. Have them do interviews. If you want to attract and retain top-tier talent, if you want to pull talent away from your competition, show that your place of work is somewhere cool, somewhere fun that someone would really want to work at. Because once again, friends, this is the audience that you're speaking to. I want to put this into perspective. Rainbow vomit and puppy dog ears, this is the audience that you're speaking to. And if you want to resonate with this audience, you really have to speak to them on their level. Now let's talk about the keys to converting, okay? And I know we got about 5 minutes or so, but I'm gonna ask for an extra 5 if that's cool, because this is where the magic happens. I know that you guys are coming here at Komfo Summit because you want to walk away and go to your offices and be able to take all this knowledge and put it to work. And I wouldn't be doing my job up here if I don't help you guys be much more successful. Creating content, that's a challenge. Growing is a challenge. Let's face it, making money on these mediums, that is a challenge as well. So I'm going to share with you guys a couple of things that you should be doing. One, look to leverage these platforms to run what I like to refer to as 24-hour flash sales. If you know that content disappears within 24 hours, give people a reason to go and consume your content today. And if you want to give them a reason to buy, let them know that these offers are exclusive to the social network that they're consuming content on. And I'll give you an example. Sephora, it's a very well-known beauty brand. What they did on Black Friday, they had these $10 deals that you could only see through Snapchat. And how they get the word out about these $10 deals, and that you had to go to Snapchat to learn about? Through email, through more of traditional digital marketing. Also, make sure you're using specific coupon codes or tracking codes that are intended to be used only for those people that consume your content on Instagram or on Facebook or on Snapchat. Because here's what's going to happen. If you put a coupon code on every single social network, you're not going to know where these individuals came from to redeem them. So if you're running a promotion that's exclusive to Snapchat or Instagram, make sure you're using a coupon code that's exclusive and relevant only to that social network. The next is links. Snapchat recently made it possible for you to embed a URL into your snaps. Use them. However, make sure you're using tracking URLs. Make sure that I like to use Bitly, quite frankly. Use Bitly as a way to track traffic and engagement to those URLs, or you can work with your webmaster internally to create a custom URL for you. So once again, if you're Nike, have nike.com/snap or snap.nike.com. That way, anyone that visits your website, you know came to you specifically through that medium, whether it's Snapchat or whether it's Instagram. Has anyone here used Snapchat Maps, by the way? A few of you? Snapchat Maps, I will say, is a very creepy feature. And it's creepy from the standpoint that anyone in the world that's friends with you on Snapchat can know where you're at any point in time. I don't like it. It's deactivated on my account. However, from a marketing standpoint, it's pure genius. Because let's face it, if you're a brick-and-mortar business here in Copenhagen and you want to drive people to your pizza shop, you can now see who's around your pizza shop and you can send them a direct message. And you can give them a coupon or an offer to come in that day to come visit you. So actually tap into this. See who's nearby your place of business. Give them exclusive value. Actually engage with them and build that relationship. And what you'll see is over time, that one person will multiply into 5, into 10, into 100, and so forth. Also, Snapchat recently rolled out an ad platform very similar to Facebook. So for those of you in the room that for the longest time have said, we're not going to jump on Snapchat because we really like being able to give Facebook our money, guess what? You can now do that with Snapchat. They have a self-service tool that's very similar to Facebook ads. You can upload an email list, you can create custom audiences, and I highly encourage that you work directly with your marketing or agency teams to create content specifically for Facebook ads. If there's for Snapchat ads. If you guys don't go out and create original content, what's really cool about Snapchat's ad platform is you can take pre-roll style video, size vertical for Snapchat, and you can run that as ads. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we have a couple minutes left, but custom snap codes is another way that you can go ahead and have a presence on Snapchat without having necessarily a presence creating content Snapchat. I'm going to tell you guys how this works really quick. Pepsi has a campaign right now in the US that they have snap codes on Pepsi bottles. And when you scan the snap code, rather than going to Snapchat to see Pepsi content, instead it takes you to a Pepsi website for you to be able to enter your information to be able to take part in the contest. The biggest key, friends, is to have fun. Snapchat is not Facebook. Snapchat's Snapchat. Instagram is Instagram. And Facebook is Facebook. I've seen this over the last 10 years. As social media has evolved, it's become a big sales and marketing play. Fun has been taken a lot out of social media, and why? It's because as marketers, we are under intense scrutiny and pressure from our bosses and our bosses' bosses to make this work. I encourage you in everything that you do, make sure that you have fun. Now, future of social media, and I promise, Liz, I won't take up more than 2 more minutes. Future of social media. I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't necessarily tell you guys what exactly is going to happen. But I'm going to tell you this from what I do know by being plugged into the industry. One, you have Mark Zuckerberg, whose plan for world domination is to change the way that we communicate. We've already seen it with Facebook. Every single person on this room is on Facebook. We're using Messenger. There's WhatsApp. There's WeChat. There's Oculus, which is virtual reality. So right here, this man's changing through his company the way that we communicate. This man here is changing the way that we see the world around us. Very different. Snapchat has labeled themselves to be a camera company from an artificial intelligence standpoint. They are really making headways to being the camera company that really changes how you go ahead and see the world around you. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go ahead and spend the job. Let me go ahead and go back. For the sake of time, I'm not going to show you guys this video here. But I firmly believe that community managers are screwed. And here's where I'm going with this. And no offense to any of my homies in here that are community managers. Once again, we are under intense scrutiny to make sure that all this ecosystem works. Once brands start to see that you can outsource jobs to bots, you don't need to have the people anymore. They're sitting there typing and engaging with people. Now, you saw the example that I shared with you before of Marriott. Quite frankly, it was awful. And Marriott didn't necessarily lose a customer meeting, but they lost business that otherwise would have gone to them because of my experience. Your challenge as marketers, your challenge as community managers, is to take this information and to start creating content that's real. People relate to people. People relate to real. They don't relate to a chatbot. That's the reality. You guys see this photo here, and you would think that this is a group of homeless people. In fact, they look very homeless, but these are people that are in line waiting to buy a new iPhone. This is the experience that you get when you go to Apple. You feel good. You're happy to give them $1,000 on a brand new phone. You're that excited, and you're willing to spend hours sleeping overnight at their stores. That's not something that happens with one tweet or one Instagram post or one snap. That happens over time of building loyalty. I'm going to leave you guys on this note. Do you know who this is? This is DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled is one of the most viewed people on Snapchat and on social media today. He gets about 3 million views per snap. I heard recently that he gets about 6 million views on Instagram. Do you guys know what sets DJ Khaled apart from almost every single Fortune 100 company on the planet today? Does anyone want to take a guess? Yeah, posting content like this. Heavy-set guy riding a jet ski shirtless gets 3 million views. DJ Khaled in the year 2017 has figured out what most brands still today have not, and that's how to be real. Once again, friends, people relate to people. They don't relate to brands, they don't relate to logos, they don't relate to sales offers, they relate to people, and that's what they want to see. So I'm going to leave you guys on this note, and it's a challenge. Going forward, every brand in this room needs to be more like DJ Khaled. Yes, more like this guy. You be more like DJ Khaled and less like a brand. Thank you so much, guys.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Frederick. I work here in Komfo as a data analyst. My main task is to make sure that we'll bring data into our strategic decision making on the more commercial side of the business. In short, I really like numbers, I really like statistics, especially the nerdy stuff, and I'm a total noob when it comes to social. So imagine all the teasing going on from my perspective when you work in Komfo. So I've started catching up on Facebook and this thing called content, starting to get good at it, and now Carlos tells me that it's for all people, so this is a rough morning from my perspective. Alright, enough about me. I'm very honored to introduce our next keynote speaker. She's a journalist. She traveled and worked in China for years. She's here to tell us exactly why Silicon Valley is so last year and why we should be very observant of the East, because they are definitely going to disrupt us in